Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more Pacific Islanders and Asian Americans of note in U.S. history. Now, today we will be looking at Larry Itliong. Itliong. I'm not sure how it's actually said, but anyway, we'll start off here with this memo this proclamation issued by Gavin Newsom last year as Larry Itliong Day in California. During Filipino American Heritage Month, California celebrates the trailblazing labor leader and civil rights champion Larry Itliong. Born on this day in 1913 in the province of the Philippines, he immigrated to the U.S. as a teenager, where he soon began his life work of empowering others. As a laborer in the fisheries and canneries of Alaska, Itliong helped found the Alaska Cannery Workers Union to secure better working conditions, including an 8-hour workday with overtime. He went to serve in World War II and later settled in Stockton, California, where he continued his organizing efforts and helped launch the asparagus strike of 1948, the first major agricultural strike after World War II. And in 1956, he founded the Filipino Farm Labor Union in Stockton. Itliong and Philip Vera Cruz and other leaders also helped create the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee. Emerging as a leader in the watershed farm labor movement, Itliong allied with grape workers in the Coachella Valley in their fight for better wages. In 1965, Itliong and fellow Manongs, respected elders in the Filipino American community, moved to organize against exploitative grape growers in Delano. Shortly after, the Manongs joined forces with Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, and the National Farm Workers Association, beginning a nationwide boycott of grapes that led to the first farm worker union contracts. Recognizing his incredible impact on our state and advocacy for those without a voice, he had an honor of inducting Mr. Itliong into the California Hall of Fame in 2021. And on that day that this proclamation went out, on the 11th anniversary of his birth, we honor the immense contributions of Larry Itliong and the Manongs, whose hard-fought battles helped advance farm workers' rights and social justice in California and beyond. Let us remember their message of Isang Bagsak. We are all connected together in our fight for justice, and we rise and fall together. So yeah. Making October 25th Larry Itliong Day. Which is kind of odd. If you're a fan of the Fallout games, October 25th is also the day the bombs dropped during the Great War. But yeah. Anyway, this is from the National Park Service. Larry Itliong Itliong, 19 Itliong 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 Itliong, okay, was a Filipino-American labor organizer and civil rights activist who played a central role in the founding of the United Farm Workers (UFW) Union. Itliong was known for his role in the 1965-66 strike and boycott against California grape growers and the subsequent founding of the United Farm Workers Union. However, Itliong's activism was a lifelong endeavor that began much earlier. For more than 4 decades, he organized and advocated on behalf of farm and cannery workers, immigrants, and Asian Americans. Modesto Larry was born October 25th, 1913, in the Pangasinan province of the Philippines, then a U.S. territory. He was one of 6 children of Arternio and Francesca Itliong. He had only a 6th grade education when he left home in the San Nicolas municipality for the U.S. in 1929 at the age of 15. Itliong hoped to continue his education in the United States. However, he arrived during the dire economic conditions of the Great Depression and pervasive racial violence and rhetoric against Filipinos and other immigrants. These conditions prevented him from realizing his academic ambitions. Although Filipinos were technically American nationals, being that the Philippines was an American territory at the time, making them automatically citizens, they faced legal and social discrimination. Anti-miscegenation laws prevented Filipinos who were overwhelmingly young men from marrying white women. God protect them white women. Police raided Filipino dance halls and violent mobs targeted Filipino communities. The only work available to most Filipinos was low-paid agricultural, cannery, and domestic work. Itliong's experience of racism and economic injustice gave rise to a lifetime of activism. Like many other Filipinos in America at the time, Itliong followed the seasons. He migrated up and down the West Coast to fill short-term labor needs, such as planting, tending, and harvesting different crops. Mostly young single men, Filipinos crowded into jalopies or hitched rides on boxcars to find the next job. Many Filipinos, including Itliong, made their way to Seattle each year. Here, they signed contracts to spend the summer working in Alaska's salmon canneries, a critical site for Filipino labor organizing in the 1930s. Itliong's first experience with organizing came in 1930, shortly after he arrived in the United States. He was among 1,500 farm workers to walk out of the lettuce fields near Monroe, Washington, on strike. By 1933, he organized farm workers in California's Salinas Valley. This was one of many strikes that were part of a growing movement in Filipino farm worker organizing during the 1930s. Itliong also helped found the Alaska Cannery Workers Union, which became Local 7 of the United Cannery, Agricultural, and Packing House Workers of America. His efforts with the union fought for a contract that offered workers an 8-hour workday with overtime. Itliong emerged as a leader in the Filipino American community of Manongs, respected elder workers who were crucial in shaping the labor movement. During World War II, Itliong served as a steward on a U.S. Army transport ship, and after the war, he settled in Stockton, California, where he started a family and resumed his activism throughout the 1940s and 1950s. He continued to organize farm workers as a member of the United Cannery Agricultural and Packing House. I can't remember what the A was there, Workers Association, and later the International Longshore and Warehouse Union. Itliong also became involved in the Filipino community and civic organizations like the Legionarios del Trabajo League of Workers and the Filipino Voters League. In 1948, Itliong, along with Philip Vera Cruz and other labor leaders, participated in the 1948 asparagus strike in Stockton, California. The asparagus strike was the first major U.S. agricultural strike after World War II. In 1956, he continued his organizing work with the Filipino Farm Labor Union in Stockton, California. He was asked to organize for the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, a newly chartered union in the AFL-CIO in 1959. Though the union was largely Filipino, it included Mexican, Arab, black, and white workers within its ranks. In 1965, Itliong and the AWOC led 1,500 Filipino farm workers on a strike against the grape growers in and around Delano, California. But grape growers could easily replace the striking workers. A successful strike required the support of Mexican farm workers, many of whom were represented by the National Farm Workers Association, organized by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. Chavez was hesitant to join the strike as he believed that the Mexican farm workers needed more time to be organized. However, Itliong convinced him to bring the NFWA, National Farm Workers Association, to join forces with the AWOC. Together, they commenced the massive 1965 to 1966 grape strike and boycott. In 1967, the two unions officially merged to become the United Farm Workers, AFL-CIO, the UFW. Chavez was the director and Itliong the assistant director. In the years that followed, the UFW drew national attention to the plight of farm workers through highly publicized boycotts and marches. Through their efforts, the UFW won labor contracts that guaranteed farm workers higher wages and safer working conditions. However, tensions and internal conflict emerged within the UFW. Chavez and Itliong's leadership styles and viewpoints were in conflict. Chavez saw the union as more of a social movement, while Itliong approached it as more of a traditional trade union. In 1971, Itliong resigned from the union. Itliong continued to organize for workers' rights and traveled to defend and organize farm workers in Brazil and Chile in solidarity with other labor movements across the world. In addition, he was an elected delegate at the 1972 Democratic National Convention in Miami Beach, Florida. He helped establish the Palo Agbayani Retirement Village, a retirement community for aging Filipino farm workers. Agbayani opened its doors in 1974, and Itliong remained politically active as a member of the Filipino American Political Association. His community activism continued until his death in 1977 at the age of 63. He was laid to rest in Delano, California. He is remembered as one of the fathers of the West Coast labor movement and a key figure in the Asian American movement. In 1995, the first mural honoring Filipino American farm workers was completed in Los Angeles' historic Filipino town, which features Itliong. In 2015, Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill designating October 25th as Larry Itliong Day in California. Itliong's story of labor and union organizing among migrant farm workers sheds light on the history of Filipino American activism within the civil rights era. So yeah, that's what the National Park Service site had to say about him, and we read this. Says Governor Newsom proclaims, but according to the National Park Service, Jerry Brown had already assigned it as Itliong Day, October 25th in 2015. So, interesting. Anyway, let's look at the Wikipedia article to see if we can find a little more about him. Born October 25th, 1913, San Nicolas Pangasinan, Philippine Islands, and died February 1977, Delano, California. Other names or nicknames was Seven Fingers. But yeah, he was a labor organizer, farm worker. But yeah, fought for minimum wage, 8-hour days. He lost 3 fingers in an accident in an Alaskan cannery, which earned him the nickname Seven Fingers. So that's how he came across that as his nickname. So yeah. In 1966, the California Rural Legal Assistance was founded as part of LBJ's War on Poverty, with Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, and Itliong sitting on the founding board. So yeah, hugely important. Especially when it comes to labor and Asian American issues. He died in February 1977 of Lou Gehrig's disease. That sucks. apparently there was, we had already talked about the clash between Itliong and Chavez in the way they viewed the UFW, and apparently Johnny Itliong said his brother Larry, or his father Larry, was militant. Caesar was nonviolent. Caesar had handlers, Caesar had lawyers, Caesar was a dictator. So yeah. Clearly there was a lot of conflict between the two, even though they were fighting for the same thing, more or less. In mid-April 2013, the New Haven Unified School District renamed Alvarado Middle School as into the Itliong Veracruz Middle School in honor of Veracruz and Itliong. This school is the first school in the United States to be named for Filipino Americans. There was vocal opposition to the name change, some of who waved Mexican flags, who said the name changing disrupts the neighborhood's tradition. The middle school was originally named for Juan Bautista Alvarado, and the name change did not take effect until 2015. This occurred after a 13-year effort to rename the school for the Filipino American leaders, after several other schools had been named to reflect the city's diverse population, including Cesar Chavez Middle School, where 20% of the population was Filipino American. New Haven Unified. Okay, San Francisco Bay Area. Alright. 2013, Filipino business and a Filipino community center were targeted with graffiti vandalism. Let's see, 2014, an overpass over the Filipino American Highway in South San Diego was designated the Itliong Veracruz Memorial Bridge. So yeah, there we go. We get a good look at who Larry Itliong was. Farm worker, union organizer, and rights activist. Pretty cool. But with that, we'll go ahead and end the episode there. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.